Welcome to the Get Back, music work talk in Central Texas, Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed, private sector, employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome to the Get Back. It is January 7th, 2022. I'm Aaron, and joining me are Russell and Mark. Once again, hello, gentlemen. Yeah, man. Let's see. We always start with those links down in the bottom. That's got our union website and other helpful links to helpful things for music industry folks during all this. And I guess we always might as well continue the tradition of starting with beverages. I'm doing coffee in my Blues Crawlers mug once again. I think it's cold now, but what do you guys got?
Spring water. Starting the new year off right.
Oh, I think Mark. I think you're muted.
I bet it's got green tea though.
Oh, we'll see.
No, well, it is green tea, but this is specifically gunpowder. This is what really starts the new year off right, gunpowder.
It's
you loaded.
Gunpowder green tea?
Yeah.
Nice. That seems appropriate for Texas. I think that's warranted. Yeah. Launch into the new year for sure.
I think one show we ought to all rotate one to the left.
Oh, you mean
I'll have green tea and
and I'll do spring water, and Mark will have coffee or something?
No, I'll have vodka.
There you go. Oh, yeah. That'll be, the Get Back After Dark. There,
right, yeah. That should have been our New Year's variation.
Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah, all right. I'm not sure if we can afford the scale for a New Year's show, but we'll look into that. Man.
Cheap vodka.
There you go. Oh, man. Well, goodness, I guess the first thing we should talk about is, what happened. Was it yesterday or the day before with the stages?
Yesterday.
Yep. So, you wanna talk about that, Mark or Russell? What?
Well, I of course, like everybody else, read that we'd gone into stage 5 in Austin, and I guess I'd kind of forgotten what the different stages were and stuff. So I went online to look it up, and it's pretty unspecific on the website in terms of like if you're a musician and you're looking for some guidance about, whether you should go out or whether you should play a gig or whether the club should stay open or what. I mean, it's pretty vague on the website. And so I kind of was looking for a little more guidance and did not find it.
Not totally surprising, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
but it'd be nice to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it did say, that stage 5. I don't know. I don't think it said required, but suggests that you wear a mask whenever you're indoors around other people. So obviously for a saxophone player, that means that you're probably not going to be playing a gig this weekend.
There's a bit of a problem with that for saxophone
Yeah.
players. Yeah.
Yeah.
Difficult to play the saxophone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing with the stage 5 is that it's for vaccinated and non-vaccinated. The suggestion is for everybody to be masked up again. Whereas 4 was really leaning on the non-vaccinated. As a matter of fact, they were basically saying if you're non-vaccinated, please don't go out. It wasn't mandated, but that was the suggestion.
Well, that's an excellent point, because you remember back in, we were just talking about how it feels like April or May of 2020 or something. But you remember in those months there were restrictions, right? I mean they did mandate that some businesses close or some businesses reduce capacity and things like that. And we're not seeing that this time around. Why is that?
Well, because at least here in Texas anyway, the governor has an order that you can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And the attorney general has already ramped up his efforts to sue anyone that tries to get around that governmental mandate.
Mm-hmm.
That's why those guidelines from the city are purposely vague.
Yeah, by anyone, you're talking about local governance, counties or
Mhm.
cities, right?
Mhm.
Individual business owners, of course, can and are making that decision for themselves. So when you hear about a business or for us, it's a gig. If the venue is closed, that's because of that venue's decision to close. Or they may have been forced to close just by circumstances because there aren't enough people to work, or the musicians are sick, or something
Sure.
like that, or the workers are sick, and but that can't be, I guess, right? It can't be imposed anymore by any government in Texas. Cannot impose any kind of closing or capacity limits on any business. Is that right? Is that
Now, from what I understand, you as a band leader can hire a band and tell you guys we're masking up,
mhm.
and the club owner has no say so. And yes, you can. No, you can't. This is how it is.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anybody that has been told that they can't wear a mask. Yeah, that would seem crazy. Although in 2020 there was that bar in Dallas that kicked out patrons for wearing masks. So
Yeah, you have to leave.
yeah,
But when the restrictions went in earlier, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, weren't there capacity requirements attached to those levels, which I
There were.
believe have gone away
Yeah.
now, right?
There were, yeah.
So what were the capacity requirements attached to stage 5?
that's an interesting question.
When the mandates were attached to it, they were like, 50% capacity, which could mean anything. 20 people, with 6 feet around, 15 people, and how they were enforcing those, who knew? Because it wasn't the fire marshal doing it, so it wasn't official. It was the proprietor that was doing it. So, in terms of officially enforcing that, I mean, who really knew?
Well, but the point is that was the guideline. In other words, that was the suggestion back then when the first round of guidelines came out. And now, because of Paxton or whoever, they're not putting that same teeth into the restrictions, but the sense of the restriction is still the same, isn't it? In other words, that if you run a bar or a laundromat or a restaurant or a movie theater, that you're not supposed to be at capacity.
Well,
I've not heard that. I've not heard that there is a limit on how many you could have.
There isn't.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to find on the website earlier today or yesterday, and I couldn't find anything about that. But I think there was something about that before, like a year ago or whenever.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to the UT Stadium and it's full blast.
Yeah.
You go down to the Cowboy Stadium, there's no restriction. You can push and shove and get in as many as you can.
Yeah, yeah, but I think you're correct, Mark. Yeah, that there were capacity things, and I think that that has been, outlawed in the state of Texas, basically for county and local governments to do that. So yeah, there's nothing in the guidelines even as a suggestion now, and unfortunately, what that means is, I guess, it leaves it to to business owners to figure it out for themselves, I suppose, which they're doing. They're the ones that have closed or paused operations have done it because they have workers. Too many workers are sick for them to actually open. So, and that's kind of a unfortunate way to discover where the limits are, I guess. But
they're leading to science as opposed to economics, the cause and effect. If I let you come in here and the cause is I have staff that are out with this virus, the effect is like I can't be in business.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the governor says.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So.
But it is interesting to me that 6 months ago or a year ago, we did go through a lot of businesses closing in Austin. And as far as I can tell, we're not going through that now, even though more people are sick. Right? So, I mean, what does that tell you about where we're at? I mean, is the new notion that, yeah, we have the virus and here it is and we have to learn to live with it and it's here to stay, and we're going to compromise our lives as little as possible. We're going to close businesses as little as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of the philosophy that's being, I mean, sort of forced on us, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, it leaves a lot of individual choices for us as as musicians and just as consumers too. When to go out and when to not go out, and when to wear the mask, when to wear the better mask. That's been an issue this week.
Yeah, that's the key now. Yeah.
Wear the KN95. Yeah. There is an article I was going to bring up from the Statesman from today, and the title is as Omicron surges, what has closed, canceled, or changed in Austin, and it just has it has sort of a list of examples. It's a very short list, though. It's like there's only five. There's only five sort of examples of businesses on here. So I could just go through them real quick if you guys want. The first one is Bill Miller Barbecue. The barbecue joint is closed in-person dining at its Austin and San Antonio restaurants due to a staffing shortage. Owners announced on Instagram they are set to open again on January 10th, which is Monday. And then the next one is Birdie's. The East Austin restaurant went on its winter break, quote unquote, 3 days early on December 21st because a staff member tested positive. The restaurant is set to reopen January 11th, according to their website, which is Tuesday. So some of them are just kind of taking extended holiday breaks, or they're characterizing it that way. The Bolden Creek Cafe, the vegetarian cafe, has shortened its hours to 8 to 5 due to the spread of the Omicron variant. They announced on Instagram. That's an interesting thing. Of course, it's a cafe, so 8 to 5 is reasonable, I suppose. Kome Sushi Kitchen, the Japanese restaurant, closed its doors for in-person dining in December. According to their Instagram, they are operating as a contactless curbside takeout restaurant until further notice, according to their website. That's sort of a until further notice thing. And then the one that might be most interesting to us is Sam's Town Point is on here. The South Austin music venue announced on their Facebook page that they are closing for, quote, a few days as they recover from this superbug. And recover from the superbug is in quotes too. Um, they still have shows listed on their website, however. So I think that sounds like an evolving situation there. But yeah, some of us probably know some folks that play at Sam's Town Point, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's in the Statesman. There was actually an article yesterday too about this, specifically about the stage guidelines. Austin returns to stage 5 of COVID. What will change for you? I'm not going to read that one to you, obviously, but we'll put that in the show notes because that might be a little helpful as far as that goes. Although those concrete things that we saw last year, like you were mentioning, Mark, are just not there. I think they're not possible anymore for our local health departments or governments to specify that much detail anymore. So yeah, very interesting. But that's our workplace, that affects all of us. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? Any what's the gig situation? Not to get into personal details, but what's it looking like for you guys? This weekend or this coming week? Any cancellations or?
Well, my gigs for this weekend and next weekend are canceled.
Okay. Yeah.
I have gigs this weekend and a recording session next weekend, and they're both canceled.
I got one that's still happening this weekend. We'll see. It's tomorrow, so we'll see. But I had one canceled last weekend, so we'll see. The one last weekend was ostensibly for weather, but it was one of those things where there was like an indoor option for it, but that would have been close and indoors.
Yeah,
so I think
scary.
That might have been why, but we don't know for sure. But yeah. What about you, Russell? Any info?
I still have 2 on the books, and they're kind of iffy.
Yep.
We just won't know until. I mean, it could be like they say, a game time decision.
Right. Yeah. Yes, indeed. But I think what you were saying is correct, though. Like no one can stop you from wearing a mask. Like that is ridiculous. And if somebody tried to do that, that's a great reason to not work at that place, probably. And I know that's a hard decision to make too. But yeah, that's pretty wild. So, goodness. Well, the next article I was going to bring up is also from the Statesman. I don't know if you guys read the Statesman a lot, but there's a lot of this fact-checking thing that they're doing.
Which is why I started reading that.
Yeah, and it's helpful. It's sometimes kind of sad that they have to do this all the time. But there's an article from today where they're fact-checking an Instagram post where somebody's saying that a Yale study said that vaccinated people are more likely to be infected than those who have not been vaccinated. And of course that's not true, but they're having to report on it anyway because like so many people are believing this kind of stuff, this kind of misinformation that's going out there. So like with most good misinformation, there's no good misinformation, but it's based on something that was actually in the news, but it's interpreting it completely wrong. And so anyway, I'll put that in the notes as well. But gosh, I mean, to all the musicians out there, I mean, if you're reading anything that's telling you that vaccinated people are more likely to get sick than unvaccinated people, like stop reading whatever that is and read something better, please. Because
put that down immediately.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and it's. Are you going to stop reading Instagram? Probably not, but you can unsubscribe from people who are posting that kind of thing on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or TikTok or whatever you're doing. So yeah, it's wild, man. Have you guys seen stuff like that? I mean, you see it kind of breezing by on the feeds and stuff like that. But
you do see stuff like that, and you just have to consider the source. I mean, when you look at it and see, where it's coming from and who's doing it and if it's some radicalized person, you're thinking, should I even be reading this poison?
Mm.
And why is it on my feed?
Yeah, why is it there? Yeah. That's hard to figure out too, because the algorithm is so
Yeah.
complex and yeah.
What have I done to bring this in here?
But yeah, what makes it think that I want to see
What you've done is you have a feed.
that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Man. I mean, a lot of folks use the same. That sometimes to clue into it, you can see like little grammatical errors or misspellings or things like that, and that's always a big clue that it's maybe not legitimate, but that's not always going to be there. Like they're getting better and better. Like the people posting the misinformation are getting better and better. So we're not always going to be able to count on that. We have to find other ways, like Russell was saying, to check where it's coming from, check the source. Yeah, man. All right. Well, let's talk about the mask thing. So there's another article. The title is "Ruling Against Abbott. Austin Appeals Court Lets Harris County Impose Mask Mandate." And so that's the Austin-based Third Court of Appeals. Rejected arguments by Abbott and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who claims state law lets the governor overturn local health mandates imposed to mitigate the spread of a dangerous virus. And so then Harris County, which is Houston, won this, and they're able to keep their mask mandates. I think it's mainly as far as schools, but maybe is it county buildings too? I'm not sure. You guys heard about this?
I heard about the ruling, but
It changes so often. I mean, I don't know how you could follow that.
Yeah.
It's like every 3 or 4 days, or at least, it's a different program.
It keeps.
But look at that map that they drew. All of that stuff is going to be X'd out come voting period. Houston is going to pay dearly for their incident.
Which map are you talking about, brother?
For the voting rights.
Oh, you mean where they're restricting?
Oh, it's completely gerrymandered. I mean, those guys are like, how dare you not go along with our mandate?
You think that's a response to?
Oh, of course.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Well, on a very mundane level, I did read an interesting article from The Guardian yesterday about masks and which masks were the best ones, the most reliable, the most comfortable. It was a pretty convincing article that said that normal cloth or surgical masks are not what you should be wearing. Mm-hmm. That you should be wearing respirator masks. Like the ones that if you go to Home Depot and you're getting ready to, sand your desk off, you buy a respirator mask. That's what you should be wearing for COVID.
So you're not breathing the varnish, right? Yeah.
Or the virus.
Or the
virus
yeah.
or the varnish. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it K95 or is it KN95 now?
They're actually N95 masks, but they're NIOSH. It's National Institute of something or other masks. NIOSH masks, yeah. Huh. And so I went to Home Depot yesterday, and there they were.
Huh.
$20 for a box of 10.
Yeah, wow.
And I tried it on this morning, and it is more comfortable than just the regular, cheapo masks that you buy at CVS or Walgreens or wherever.
You don't have it on you, do you? Can you show us what
you're
talking about?
Yeah.
I'm interested to see. It's mask fashion is where it's at right now, right? I mean, the fashion.
You've seen mine, haven't you?
I've definitely seen yours. Yeah.
It looks like that one.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. That's
so
this is. You can change the lining in it. Yep.
Look at that.
Yeah, and this is the box that it
And is that what they're calling like the duck style mask? That I think that's.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a regular mask, except it's not an over-the-ear one. It's a behind-the-head strap one.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
got the metal bar at the top, and it's got a kind of a fold-down thing at the bottom. You know, like I say, it's pretty comfortable.
Huh.
And according to this article, the material that the mask cloth itself is made out of is like way, way, way more able to block particulate matter or molecular matter from the air, both from you going out and from the out going in to you. So,
But that's a disposable mask, right?
yeah. But I mean, you can wear this. You could probably wear this 4 or 5 times, I would think.
Oh yeah, and we do. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Russell, you were talking about one that you can change the filter in. You can change the.
I had one of those. Yeah, and those are pretty. They're washable, and you can pull the filter out and wash it. And those are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But yeah, you're saying though it probably needs to be better than just a one single piece of cloth that's across your face, like what they're calling a surgical mask or.
This was a guy who's a mechanical engineer with a background in aerosol science who wrote this article for The Guardian.
Aerosol science? Where's this guy been the whole pandemic? We
Yeah,
gotta hear more from him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet he knows a thing or two.
Yeah.
Well, unless he's working for a company and we don't know it. But, you know, with The Guardian, it's pretty likely that he's not. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. No, but that's what we needed to, we still need to know more about aerosols with wind instruments, with saxophones, and trumpets and things, like where the aerosols, like we know it generates aerosols, but where do they actually exit the face? And is it even consistent from person to person? We don't know, and they're still trying to figure that out. God bless. Well, thanks for looking into that, man. You can't even wear a mask while you're playing, can you, with the sax? But
no, but I'm getting ready to go on that boat where I'm going to be wearing at least one mask every moment that I can.
Yeah.
So
Good move, brother. Right on.
But a funny story. We've been friends for a long time, and he calls me up and he says, "Russ, I got a great gig for you. Me and you, we're going to cruise ship and it'll be fun. We're going to work." And I said, "Kenny, are you high? Do you know what happens on those things? We'll be floating right out there for months." He's like, "Really? Hey, but they'll drop food in by helicopter. It'll be great. We'll love it." Like, no, we're not doing that. And then he says, "Well, it'll give a whole new meaning to the poop deck." I'm like, "No, Kenny, no, we're not. No." But he thinks like that. He's a brilliant guy, but he calls me up late at night with stuff like that.
Well, now is the time to be thinking outside the box, but it's important to talk to each other.
Right? Yeah. Before you have those type epiphanies that are not really good for you.
Yeah. Hey, man. But think outside the box is good, man. But yep. To run it by your friends, especially if you're friends with Russell. Run it by Russell.
We're not going out there.
Oh man. Well, the next article I pulled up was also from today, and it's about the EMS medics. It says the title of the article is "Omicron Overwhelms Austin Travis County EMS Medics with More Than 60 Out Sick." So they're not being overwhelmed by how many people they have to pick up; they're being overwhelmed by the virus itself. There's so many of them out sick, and so that's huge. I mean, if you need a ride in an ambulance, it's harder to get it right now. So, yeah, don't need an emergency ride, I guess. But how can you plan for that, right? I don't know. But you guys heard anything about that? You know any of those guys?
I have heard that, and it's outright frightening that has come to that.
Well, I mean, the corollary to that is that the hospital may not accept you.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Even if you can if you need to go to the hospital and you can get there, there may not be a place for you there.
Right.
Maybe just
I
sitting in the
don't think
hall.
that's happened so much in Austin, but I know in Houston that's the case, in Florida and Georgia. And,
Well, I
it's
think we were hearing that back in September with the Delta
Yeah.
spike. That sometimes
Right.
they had to go to more than one hospital because of that, right? You would get there and they'd like, no, there's no more room. Go to the next one, and you'd be driving around, and so that affects it too because then the EMS driver, their time in getting you to the hospital takes longer, so they can't go get the next person. And yeah, yeesh. And then they're exposed to sick people longer too, if they have the virus. If the sick person has the virus, then the EMS driver is exposed to them longer, and
Yeah.
makes it more likely that they'll be infected or something. Yeah. Whew. Yep. So God bless those folks, and we hope that they're better soon. Man. Well, the last thing I have from the newspaper articles. Oh, I just I just shut it down. I just closed it. But it was the owners of the Mean-Eyed Cat. There it is. They bought another club called the Midnight Cowboy from the Alamo Draft House funders. That's a lot of local businesses I just mentioned. We're not sponsored by any of those local businesses, but but that was published a couple of days ago. And the reason that I bring it up is I think it's interesting that people that own, clubs and music venues in Austin, they're buying other clubs and music venues in Austin. So they still see it as a viable business model is what I'm trying to say, right? So
well, you could look at it that way, or you could look at it as so many places are going belly up and selling for next to nothing.
Yeah,
because they don't have a future.
But even if that's true, someone who's already in that business wouldn't buy it unless they thought it was going to be a viable business again. You would think. But we could be wrong, I suppose. But I like to see it. I like to see it in the more optimistic lens. I'm with you.
You're the glass half full guy.
There you go. Maybe maybe a third full, something like that. But anyway, so it's interesting, So I'll put that in there too in the show notes, just as a point of interest. Yeah. Any other topics we should breach before the end of the episode today?
Well, I like to always check the city website for the rent money, but I didn't get a chance to do it this week, so I don't know the status on that. But maybe we should always keep an eye on that.
That's
I'll
right.
do that for next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the website that we have been posting in there is that what's it called? Rent relief of emergency needs for tenants on the city website. And it seems like after our last episode in December, there was something on that website that said that they were out of money. But of course, it's a new calendar year now.
Right.
And oh yeah, the first sentence is the rent program has dispersed all currently available funding. The application portal is now closed. Please sign up here to be notified should additional funding become available. So there is like a list, so you can still get on a list to be notified when the new funding becomes available. And I can't imagine there won't be new funding available eventually, right? I mean, there's still it's still in the city's and it's still in the city's interest to not have people lose their homes during the pandemic, because that's going to increase the transmission of the virus. So, so I stay in your house, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's when you, as a tenant, when you just stay in the residence, like, you really do have a lot of leverage by just staying there.
You really do.
So,
and keep a dialogue going with your landlord.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't just ignore them.
Yeah.
Because it behooves them to work with you too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And keep your eye on the political season. It's about to kick off too. So
Oh
be
man.
mindful of new amendments that will show up that you're scratching your head going, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Yep.
Keep
And
an eye on
also candidates. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah. I imagine we're going to be talking about that a lot this year in 2022. So yeah, holy cow. Yeah. Not that this is a political program. This is a labor program, but there, it's pretty clear which candidates support working people, and so we'll be talking about it a lot. So yeah, man. Any other music news? High profile cancellations. I mean, I think all the music festivals coming up are still on the calendar so far.
South by Southwest is still on pace to be here.
Yep. Yeah. Still happening as far as we know. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on all that. Yeah. And all right. Well, should we close out for this week? All right. Right on. Well,
Nice to see you guys.
nice to see you guys, and,
Yeah,
and
thank
you
you.
as the viewer. Nice to see you as well. Even though we can't really see you, but it's nice to be seen by you. And if you're in the music business, don't give up. We're going to get back to this business. We are back to it already, but we're going to get back to full steam ahead. At some point, we may be some of the last industry, of the last industries to get back to full blast operations. But hang on, we can do it together by sharing information like we're doing right now with Solidarity. Join the union, protect your contracts, charge more, and the union contracts can help you, give you the confidence that you need to do that. So let's talk. And otherwise, we will see you next week on the Get Back. I think we're going to have to go an hour later next week, like 2:00. Let's stay on and talk about that real quick. But I'll put that on the announcement, and we will see you next week on the Get Back.